Hello and welcome to day 4 of my writing retreat. We have the lake as always. There are some animals on it, but I don't think they're very clear. It's grey, it's been raining, but it seems to have calmed down a little bit now. I'm going to try and stretch my legs later and go for a little walk. So it's day 4. Yesterday was a tough day, as those of you who listened to the video know, and you know why. Thank you so much for the people that commented. I really do appreciate your support, so thank you. I didn't get as much done as I wanted to yesterday, but I think in the circumstances I'm quite happy. So I'm just finishing chapter 11. I know I was on 9 yesterday, but then remember I also had a chapter that I knew I was going to have to delete, which then took me back 1 chapter. So I deleted that and managed to take the information that I needed to pass on and put that into another chapter. So I rewrote another chapter. So I'm fairly happy with where I am in the circumstances. My niece Emma and her partner Rob came over yesterday. We had a little chat, and after they left, I was feeling a little bit sad, I guess. So when my husband rang later and asked me how I was, I said I was just feeling like perhaps this wasn't the right day for me to have been on my own. And so he said, well, let me come and get you, come home for the evening. So I did. I went home last night, watched some TV, chilled out with Margot, my stepdaughter and my husband, and stayed the night there. And then he brought me back first thing this morning, and I feel a lot better for it. Although, unbelievably, I didn't get to sleep till 5 o'clock this morning. I don't know what was wrong with me. I just could not sleep. I was tossing and turning. I was trying not to think about it. I was doing my breathing exercises. Nothing was working. I ended up giving up and just lying in bed reading. And the last time I looked at the clock, it was about 3:45. And I was getting really fed up by that stage. But then I must have drifted off. And then the alarm went off at 7, so I've had about 2 hours sleep. So I'm probably slightly delirious rather than, no, I'm tired. I suspect I'll need a little snooze later, which is fine. I'll take one when I need to. So I said yesterday that I talk a little bit more about my writing process. And someone asked me in the comments what structure I used for writing, or did I even use a structure? So the craft of writing is actually quite prescriptive in some respects. People write normally a 3 or a 4-act structure. I use a 4-act structure, so that means my book is split into 4 acts. The first act is the setup act. This is where we see what they call the normal world of our characters. So we're setting the scene, both for the people and for the environment. We're introducing people who are going to be key later on in the book, but we're introducing them in their current environment. So this is all before the incident, which in my case is a murder. And so we just get a feeling for how everyone's doing, some relationships, maybe some things that are going on that are going to be pertinent to the future, but that's the first act. The second act is when we get a bit more details about the murder. We normally get some details about the body, the circumstances, and we start to see who the potential suspects could be. Also, very importantly, this is when the main character decides that they're going to investigate. And often that's reluctantly, but they make the decision to do it. And so they start to talk to people. So Act 2 is building us up to sometimes another incident, or quite often we think we're going in one direction and that changes. Act 3 then takes over and is a bit more of a detailed investigation, probably eliminating some suspects by now, got some alibis, maybe got a few more clues. Perhaps a red herring has turned out to be exactly that. By the time we get to Act 3, we know we're getting quite close to finding out who's done it. Probably a lot of readers will have a theory by that stage, I hope so. And then Act 4, we find out who's done it, we find out why they've done it, we find out how they did it, we find out what's going to happen to them. And then we see the world post-incident and the new norm for our main characters. So that's the basic structure, if you like. I try and make my books between 60 and 65,000 words. My previous series, A Right Royal Cosy Investigation, they were knocking on for about 80, but they were quite heavily descriptive because they were in a lot of big stately homes. And so there was quite a lot of descriptive work around that. And I had some quite complicated subplots going. With this series, I've not got quite as many subplots, and I don't spend quite so much time in that describing that environment. So 60 to 65,000 words is what I'm aiming for. So if I take that over 4 acts, split it nice and evenly, 10 chapters an act, that's 40 chapters at about 15, 16, 1700 words each. Some of my chapters are much shorter, some of them are longer, but generally that structure seems to work for me. So that's how I structure my books. That's my approach at the planning stage. And then the next thing I do is I take those 40 chapters and I do a 1-word summary of what's going to happen in each one. Normally it'll be as simple as we meet suspect number 1, or we find out clue number 2, whatever that may be. A very, very basic template, just so that I can get the timeline and the structure. And then I expand that into a slightly more detailed one where I look at, I think I mentioned this earlier, why it matters, what information we're going to find out that's really important. And that is really where I then start to do the more detailed work, which I will talk about tomorrow. So I hope you found that useful and interesting. Again, if you've got any questions, please pop them in the comments and I'll try and answer them tomorrow. And in the meanwhile, I'm going to get back to work and have a good day. Bye.